Your breath returns to the world, and with it the final flicker of light. After unfathomable darkness, you open your eyes. A gentle breeze brushes your skin and jolts your senses. In front of you spreads a kaleidoscope of bottles, lined up proudly below sparkling lights. The spacious lounge around it seems to glow and meander in its existence, unoccupied in the muted ambience. A bartender looks your way. Welcome to the night lounge, dearest guest. My name is Silas. Can I help you with anything? You rub your eyes, hard, as the state of your predicament dawns upon you. I didn't know the afterlife was a bar. Silas laughs. It has an airy charm to it. We get that a lot. This is not the afterlife, though. Right now you're teetering somewhere in the middle. The connection is still there. Think of it as a temporary pit stop for your next journey. What next journey? Confusion starts to crawl back into the spotlight of your mind. Fortunately for you, any semblance of fear seems intent on staying behind. When you exit through that door, he points to the back of the lounge, the double doors' only conspicuous trait being how the light falls around it. Undulating with no particular rhythm, a smattering of colors blinking in and out. It's not calling you yet. That's where the world will enact its decision, whether you stay or return. Your attention snaps back to Silas. What do you mean, return? Your time as a fully living soul in this body has passed, but if you were to leave and get the chance to continue, you'd retain your physical existence, just not in this vessel. You'll just have to see for yourself. But will I still be human? Sure. Why? Would you like to be something else? No thanks. Can I, order something then? Of course. But I recommend drinking it only when you're ready to leave anytime soon. Alright, surprise me. As expected. Coming right up. Huh. Thanks. This is on the house, right? I'm not gonna pay with my soul or anything? Silas lets out a gentle laugh. I don't take currency other than good company. It's my job to serve every night lounge patron, after all. His voice was playful despite the trained words. You watch his slender fingers start to work. Are you the only staff here? For this particular space, yes. This lounge is a tangle of consciousness. It's a plane different from yours. Then are you real? I stopped thinking about that a long time ago. I'm as real as you are in this place, no? We just have different roles to fulfill. We both exist because the world willed us to. A swift answer to a frequent inquiry from both himself and his patrons. Don't you get lonely here? Sometimes. You never really get used to it. I get what you mean. Of course, it's human after all. You don't miss the way his voice falters. But I take pride in what I do. I'm taking part in the process of life itself. Life? Death is a part of the road, dear guest. Silas places a cocktail glass on the counter before you. The shimmering concoction presents itself in your favorite color. Inside it, refracted light itself seems to dance and flow to their own rhythm. A skewer garnish adorned with fruit lays across the rim of the glass. Its head is the shape of a small bird. It looks amazing. Thank you, Silas. You're welcome. The drink goes smoothly down your throat, followed by a perfect complement of fruit. At first, it only felt like some of the condensation dripped to your cheek. Then it kept going. It's calling you now. You put down your glass, tears falling with it. One last thing. Do you trust him? You wipe your face with haste. I think I'm ready to go now. Thank you. The bartender stills for a beat. Before you could dwell on it, his smile returns. Goodbye then. I wish you safe travels. Knowing you has been my pleasure. You give him a final nod and make your way to the door. Hand on the handle, you answer its call. The pang in your throat is the last thing you remember. What do they call you in this life? My name is Yann. Silas beams from ear to ear. Nice to meet you, Yann. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself sooner. Such is the rule of this place. You can only share your name out of the volition and trust to the lounge's bartender. and in every visit you've told me yours. What? You've come here plenty of times before. You look different, talk different, but the essence of your soul is the same. I came to recognize it. That, and in every visit you tell me to serve you whatever, so I make that drink every time you came here. I'm sorry, I don't remember you. I know, you never do. It's not your fault. But you feel it, something tugging inside, begging to be heard. What your brain couldn't recall and your body couldn't keep, the soul keeps score. Then I'll stay longer if you'd let me know you again. Oh? I'd love that. When you answered the door's call, he would slip like sand from your fingers, and he would wait in longing once again, like it has always been and always will. But at this moment the night lounge is warm and inviting. The world, gracious and quiet. It waits for the bartender and his dear, dear guest. The few hours I spend with you are worth the 1,000 hours I spend without you. Unknown. I often think about when your mother came back from the hospital holding you in her arms. To this day, it remains my biggest shame that I couldn't be by her side when you came into the world. I remember looking at you thinking, I will miss another important day of your life for as long as I live. And only days after that I promptly quit my job. The work I did there paid well, but the time it stole from me could never justify that. Time. That's the thing, isn't it? We know that it's our most precious resource, yet we throw it away haphazardly, as if there's no risk of ever running out. I eventually managed to find new employment with fewer hours spent away from home, but it was out in the country, so we had to move. Your mother always was a natural-born entertainer. Heck, she still is. She used to sing, dance, and do impressions, and you used to point and laugh. That was your way of showing how much you adored something. The two of you kept our spirits high, even when there wasn't much else to do so far away from the big city. Obviously, you inherited that fun-loving nature from her. Your flair for being dramatic, though, that was all me. Maybe the combination of those traits is what led you down the road to acting. I was jealous. I wanted more time with you. At work, I could never stop thinking about what you and your mother might be doing at home. I was perpetually afraid that I'd miss out on important events. Turns out, I was right. Not only did I miss your birth, I missed when you started crawling, I missed your first steps, and I even missed your first word. That last one hurt a bit more than the others. Maybe because I'm a word man myself? I just couldn't wait to hear those first syllables pop out of your cute little mouth. But I missed it, and I cried when I found out. Then your mother told me what your first word was. Dada. So my tears fell yet again, but for entirely different reasons. Watching you grow older was so inspiring. I started writing again after many years of barely holding a pen. Stories about a charming, intelligent, inquisitive young girl solving mysteries that even the police couldn't figure out. Those stories turned into books, which ended up gaining popularity fast. And as a result, I was able to quit my job and work from home as a full-time author. I was never going to miss anything again. I have you to thank for that. When you started school, I was worried that your outspoken personality would get you in trouble. However, things turned out the exact opposite. You were effortlessly charming, and both your friends and teachers adored you. I wish I could take credit for that, but as with most of your great qualities, you had your mother to thank. You were only 8 when you entered and won that acting contest. I didn't think it was possible to be that proud, and that's coming from a best-selling author. Just some of that dry humor that always bothered you. Though I like to think that somewhere deep inside you secretly found it endearing. Turns out the best story I ever got to tell was the one of being your father. But my pride was nothing compared to yours. You held the diploma so high that we almost couldn't see your face behind it. I can only imagine how wide that smile must have been. Every day I miss seeing it. The years flew by and the day eventually came when you decided to set out on your own. Accepted to a prestigious acting school, a new chapter of your life was about to begin, one in which me and your mother were no longer the main supporting cast. I realized that despite my best efforts, there was always going to be things in your life that I'd not be part of. Your mother took that photo of us. If I knew then that it would be the last one of us together, I would have hugged you even tighter. I would have told you once again how proud you always made me, how much I always loved you, how every day of your life was the best day of mine. I'm sure you'd brush it aside and you'd tell me that I was just being silly with all my rambling, just you being you. You grew up so fast. I just wish that you had gotten to grow even older. But the truth is, I could have said anything and it wouldn't have made a difference. The pain, sadness, and longing would still be the same. It still feels like another life getting that phone call. We hadn't heard from you in a long time since you were working on that new movie, and then you were just gone. The doctor said that they did everything they could. I want to believe that. I suppose it doesn't matter in the end. Me and your mother are still here, and you're not. Nothing could ever fill the hole that you left behind. You learn to live with it, but it never stops hurting. Today it's been 10 years. We still live in the same house you grew up in. I'm writing a new book, and your mother just recently started leading a choir. I guess you could say that we're keeping busy. Despite everything, when I look at this wall, I'm grateful. Grateful for the years we had together. Grateful that I got to be your father. I will always love you. Good night. My little Astrid. It's dark out. Nauseating fluorescent lights cycle in and out of my vision. How long have I been asleep? Where am I? Whoa! Slept well? Why is she smiling like that? Sorry, do you know where we are right now? What a stupid question. We're right here. What's wrong with her? I'll just ask the driver. Excuse me, driver? What's the next stop? Please stay seated. I'm sorry? Please stay seated. Whatever. Whatever, I can figure this out myself. Emergency use. Don't mind if I do then. The hammer shattered like glass. The woman grins wider. Very funny. A yellowing travel brochure. I could barely make out what's written on it. Everywhere you dream, anywhere you desire, slip into a world you never knew. The rest is illegible. Interesting, isn't it? To be anywhere and everywhere at the same time. Must be agonizing. The dull glint in her eyes scares me. The sticker is of some sort of flower. It looks like it was once red, but faded to white over time. It's the only thing here that isn't off-putting. Shall I peel it off, then? Look at your mortified face, as if I'm going to rip apart something I put on myself. It's strange, I used to love this flower so much, but now I can't even remember its name. The stranger loses herself in her own thoughts. Words are scribbled on the side. become nothing else ever again. And a phone number? What are you doing? Forget it, they don't mean anything. Really? Or would you rather me rip out your eyeballs? That's what I thought. Do you believe in it? In such frivolous things? Why does that matter? It'd be amusing to see you lose the last glimmer of hope and faith, your crying face mangle in horror as you realize your god can't save you now. Just kidding. I better stop talking. Now listen to me. I'm sorry. I just need to find literally anything I can click. Oh, thank God I can't press her boobs. Oh, okay. Everything's a blur, like my brain is suffocating in fog as thick as the one outside. I don't recognize anything, but I feel like I'm supposed to. It's just I'm getting a headache. Ugh, what am I doing? I can just get out at the next stop and... Wait, what is happening? Why is the bus suddenly so unsteady? Driver? Please stay seated. You stop saying that. Please stay seated. What the hell? Something sharp digs into me. Fuck, I can't move. Let go. Don't think you can run from me. I'm not doing that. But if you can answer this question, I'll let you go, So tell me, who am I? No one. Her smile twists into a miserable sneer. How cruel. Her nails dig into my skin and stay there. Who am I? I don't remember. In fact, I don't remember anything at all. Do I have a family? Friends? Even those words sound hollow to me. All I do now is sit beside the stranger. My flesh has melted into the seat till I can feel my bones scrape against the itchy bus fabric. The grumbling of the bus. The stench of feces, gamey meat, and fruit jam rotting and blistering under the summer sun. I'm hungry. Ending 3. Fruit jam. She seems familiar somehow. You're back after all that? I'm flattered. Sorry, do you know where we are right now? Someone. Oh, that was a name. No, that wasn't so hard, was it? I tore away from the stranger's grasp and scrambled off the bus as fast as I could. Not once did I look back, nor think about where I was going to go. But as I stood in the middle of nowhere, thick, damp fog swallowing everything but the rows of flickering lampposts that stretched to the ends of the universe, I realized my mistake. I fell on my knees and pressed my hands together. Shaky, desperate. I prayed, God, please let me wake up from this nightmare. But there was no answer. Not even wind blew. Ending 1, lost. Everyone. Fine. In a daze, I trudged past the stale seats, stepped out of the bus and onto the all-too-familiar pavement of my neighborhood. The dim light cast down on me was prickly and warm, but right before the bus pulled away. See you soon. Those words, dripping with sweet venom, crawled its way into my ears and latched onto my brain. From then on, everyone, anyone, they were all her. I want to see my family again, hear their laughter, feel their touch. But there's only her. Her thin smile, her grating voice, and her cold, dead hands. Ending 2, her. Anyone. Fine. Camille. My name. That's my name. A tight smile stretches across her face, bittersweet. She looks. human. After the stranger left the bus, the fog cleared and my neighborhood began to roll into view. As the bus rumbled onwards, I peered out the window. She stood at the bus stop, waving and smiling from afar until she disappeared into the horizon. Then I turned back around and closed my eyes. That's what you wanted, right? For your name to be burned into my being, whether in my memories or nightmares. Fine. You win, Camille. True ending. Camille. So, why did you want to meet up again? It's been a while. Well, I remembered that you work for that one institute. You know, the one dealing with all those supernatural cases. So I figured that you might be able to help me? Did something happen to you? Yeah, I guess? I really don't know where to start. It's fine. Just take a deep breath and start from the first thing you remember. Alright. I was on my way home from a long shift. Being unbelievably tired, I decided on taking a shortcut on my way home, just through some dark alleyway. Sure, it did seem a bit unsettling, but I figured that nothing could go wrong. And so I went, big steps to get through there as quickly as possible. To my dismay, that also meant I wasn't really looking where I went, and so I ran into someone with full force. The person I ran into, a young woman, jumped at the touch. I think she probably would have fallen to the ground hadn't she gripped my arm to balance herself. I did wince a bit, but less from the impact and more from her cold touch. You really should look where you're going. Oh, sorry. Oh well, it's fine. She gave me a wide smile, which somehow just seemed so unsettling. Looking back, I think it was because her smile never quite reached her glossy, lifeless eyes. The stranger was still gripping my arm. The situation started to get more and more uncomfortable for me, which is why I asked her to let go of my arm. Can you let go? This is uncomfortable. Ah, yes, of course. Just as she wanted to pull back, she noticed something on my arm. Suddenly her gaze was completely fixated on it. Oh, that looks absolutely gorgeous. You don't see fine-line tattoos this clean very often. Thank you. For a moment her eyes seemed to light up a bit. Not that it was making me feel any better. How old is this tattoo? Her eyes met mine, and I could feel my stomach turn a bit. Trying not to panic, I gave her a quick answer. I really need to go. Oh, that's really too bad. Her gaze had shifted again, and was back on my arm, which she was still holding. I have to say I'm a bit sad that you're acting so distant. Don't think that I haven't noticed the way you're keeping me at arm's length. But well, I think we actually have a lot in common. So, what do you think about being friends? I could feel my heart missing a few beats at her proposal. Me? Being similar to that smiling, glassy-eyed weirdo? Feeling completely overwhelmed from whatever this woman was actually suggesting, I answered the first thing that came to my mind. Sure? I hadn't even registered what I agreed to as she took my hand into hers and gave me a cheery smile. Not that this mood stayed for long. As soon as she saw that one ugly brown stripe running through one of my nails, her face darkened. Hey, listen. I think you gotta know something. And after that, she started listing off a ton of skincare tips and told me to go visit a dermatologist before leaving. So I did exactly that and got diagnosed with skin cancer? How insane is that? She just looks at me with an exasperated expression. Dear, and what's the problem now? Well, do you think she's perhaps clairvoyant? No? And 3. That's goofy as hell. If she was alright. Are you alright? I hope I didn't hurt you. Oh, don't worry, it's fine. She let out a small giggle, but that only served to fuel my unease. That's good. But, yeah, if you would excuse me, I need to go. Yes, of course. Just as she wanted to pull back, she noticed something on my arm, and suddenly her gaze was completely fixated on it. Oh, that looks absolutely gorgeous. You don't see fine line tattoos this clean very often. Thank you. For a moment, her eyes seemed to light up a bit. Not that it was making me feel any better. How old is this tattoo? I really need to go. What do you think about being friends? But I don't know you. Oh, come on. Don't be a stranger. You can consider me your friend. The place her hands had rested on was nearly numb now due to her coldness. That's why I didn't realize her nails digging into my skin until they drew blood. A scream escaped my throat. I wanted to run, but her grip was freakishly strong. I couldn't get away. The pulsing pain was overwhelming, and then suddenly, I saw her standing there, with a piece of my skin in her hand. I think she noticed my panic expression because she told me with a sickeningly sweet smile, "Oh, don't worry about the gap. I'll fill that with one of my favorites." I fell unconscious after that. When I woke up hours later in that alleyway I was all alone with, she just nods, her gaze bored into the place where my other hand rested, as if I was hiding it from her all-knowing gaze. I let out a defeated sigh as I pulled up my sweater and revealed a new patch of skin, seemingly hastily sewn on. The skin was a tad too light and a bit too soft. The tattoo on it was completely different. Thick lines made up a simple yet aesthetic image of my skin. But it's nothing I would have ever wanted. Take another look at her. There is no sympathy or pity in her expression. She just looks so curious. I truly hope that it was a good idea to come here. 5 years or so? And it's still so clean? Very impressive. Thanks. I think so too. Her gaze had shifted again. It was back on my arm, which she was still holding. Forget it. Leave me alone, you weirdo. It took all my strength to shake her off, bringing some distance between us. Oh, that's rude. If you're like that, there's really reason to hold back, huh? Really no reason to hold back. What? Suddenly she launched at me, gripping my arm with both of her hands and holding it in place. She just bit me. Her teeth tore into my flesh as she began to rip off my skin. The last thing I remember was her wide grin as a patch of my skin hung from her mouth. After that, I fell unconscious. I woke up days later in the hospital. Luckily, someone discovered me and called an ambulance. All I needed then was a skin transplant and some weeks to rest. But still, Thea, I can't shake off this uneasiness, knowing that woman is still out there. Thea just shakes her head. Sometimes I wonder how you survive your own stupidity. What a friend. What a friend.